The more information that comes out, the less sense the state's timeline actually makes. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. The timeline. That's one of those things that in the very beginning we thought meant one thing, but then, we had the arrest and the probable cause became public, and then all of a sudden the timeline is shifted by like an hour, and everyone is really confused because we had this band-felled footage that had these figures walking in the background like they were scurrying away from something. And then we had the information about what time that Maddie and Kaylee actually got home, and the phone calls back to back to back to back to back between their phones and Jack DeCour's phones, and the timeline being anywhere past 4 o'clock. That was new whenever Bryan Kohberger's arrest affidavit came out. And ever since that happened, the timeline has made less and less and less sense. And the newest information that just came out in this newest hearing that happened on April the 9th, none of it helped. If anything, it just made everything more confusing and once again, make even less sense. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, we didn't even know that DoorDash was involved in this situation until that probable cause affidavit was actually released. And in that, it doesn't state that they found evidence that there was a DoorDash. The DoorDasher had to go to the police to let them know, hey, I delivered to that house, or at least that's how the PCA reads. Hold on a minute, guys. Before this rant really gets to ranting, let me go ahead and tell you about today's video sponsor, Aura. So you've been hearing about Aura from me for about a year now, and I do not regret ever using them. They've done a great job protecting my information, keeping it off of the dark web, alerting me anytime there's been an issue, letting me know that my information is on a data brokerage site, doing their damnedest to make sure that they're getting all of that off of those websites. I can also track and make sure that my kids are doing the right things on the internet. Keep my location safe by using their VPN. And there's also a credit monitoring tool, along with all of these crazy great services at a really, really low price. You also get $5 million in identity theft coverage. The most recent data breach that everyone's talking about here lately came from Bank of America. Back on December 30th of 2024, there was an incident that resulted in a bunch of people's personal information being leaked. People were not alerted for months. It can take these big companies up to a year to even tell their customers that their information has been compromised. But with Aura, you can find out like that. So do yourself and your family a favor. Click on my link to go and try Aura for 2 weeks. See what it can do for you. I was sold within the first 2 days because of how much information of mine it actually found that was out there and how quickly it started to delete it. It's definitely worth a shot. And you can give it 2 weeks of your time. It's better than giving somebody else that's a stranger your entire life savings. So just click on my link below or go to www.aura.com/Jules. That's www.aura.com/JULEZ and sign up for that free 2-week trial. Let me know how much you love it. Only you can protect you. You've got to use the resources in front of you. This is a good one to have. Now back to the video. Now, having this information, along with the new moved over by an hour timeline that was in this PCA, is what caused one of the very first, most chaotic, confusing times in this case, because it made no sense. What do you actually mean? There was a DoorDash order that was received literally at the exact same time that the attacks were happening, or right as the perpetrator or perpetrators were getting into the house. How did the DoorDasher happen to miss the situation, given that they're giving us lots of information happening apparently between 4 a.m. and 4:20 whenever the so-say suspect vehicle 1 actually leaves the area? We've learned so much more has happened after that 4:20 time mark, but prior to that is honestly more important. Now, we were originally told that it was Xana. This was all about Xana. This DoorDash order was all about Xana, and it remained that way. Except whenever we actually got a chance to look at the search warrant for DoorDash, it was not person specific. It was literally just for 1122 King Road, and they wanted all information. Anything from January 1st of 2022 to the present day, regardless of who ordered it. Anything that had anything to do with that address, they wanted all of it. Now, they didn't even file this search warrant until 12/6 of 22, weeks and weeks after the murders, but well before they had Bryan's name. This DoorDash time and then the timeline time that we got from the state is why a lot of people were questioning, was he the DoorDasher? Was the DoorDasher some sort of person that was giving him information? Was the DoorDash set up as a distraction? That's still a big, huge possibility. Let's be for real right now. But when it came to the order itself, we saw a Jack-in-the-Box bag that was in the kitchen next to a nasty, disgusting-looking Starbucks cup. And that was a picture that was taken by mainstream media. Now, I instantly said there's no way that that was the DoorDash. And honestly, even though now we do know that Jack-in-the-Box was the DoorDash order, I still do not believe that that nasty, wrinkled-up, nasty freaking thingy-mabobber that was sitting there next to that Starbucks cup was the order that they actually got that night. It looks like it'd been sitting there for a long time, and Xana's name was written on it in like marker. And what we've come to know through the state's own self-authenticating records is that the order was actually placed through Ethan's account. And I'm really not quite sure what they're trying to tell us about Xana, which is the whole point for this video, besides the fact that we've already been told by the truth coming out about the 911 call, about how Hunter came over there and got Xana's door open, and then and only then was 911 called. And that's not what's going on. In that 911 call, you're hearing that exact scenario happening during the call, meaning that the timeline of events that we've believed so far from information coming from one of the families has been wrong, and really not at their own fault, especially if they're just being told things by people that were there. But if that same person said, oh, the door was closed, and then I opened the door and saw what happened inside, and then said, get out and call 911, but that person already knew that 911 was on the way, that scenario doesn't make sense either. So regardless, the story was wrong. Them getting that door open was not the reason for the 911 call. It happened while the 911 call was taking place. So then it brings us to the most recent information that we found out about how apparently Dylan is claiming that she saw Xana during the time of the event and that she just thought that she was passed out drunk on the floor.
In each interview, how she was afraid and did not know what she was hearing, and also contradicts this when she thought everything was, quote, okay, and XK was simply just passed out on the floor.
She says that for a brief second, she saw XK, but thought she was passed out from the night before. She also wants to talk about what she saw at 4 in the morning, and the dispatcher stops her.
Which, if you go back to the 911 call, I've made mention, and so has a lot of people, how the friend that's actually making the 911 call, they're barely even caring about the fact that Dylan apparently said that they saw some rando walking through the house. Their focus of getting the cops there for their friend is that that person drank too much and passed out from over drinking. And the reason why that is the main focus is because that's the main focus of the story that that person was being told that got them there in the first place. So then how are we going to find out later that Dylan, in the midst of hearing all of these things that are freaking her out, that she's telling Bethany about, that Bethany is also freaking out about, that she's describing in all these messages, while she is hearing something happening, she is claiming she saw Xana on the floor, but just thought that she was passed out drunk. So you're telling me that at the time that you saw her, she wasn't covered in red? That her fingers weren't so cut from self-defense wounds that they were almost off of her hand completely? You're telling me that at the 4 o'clock hour, whenever you're freaking out and seeing guys with bushy eyebrows and, oh my God, firefighters and vacuums, you're also seeing your friend on the ground. And instead of doing something about it, you freak out to your other friend on the phone and run to her room and hide? So regardless of if you really knew that something was happening past Xana being drunk on the floor, you still did not even give a damn about your friend being drunk and passed out on the floor. I don't care that this is a college house. She was apparently on the floor, and you just don't even give a shit that something could have happened? So your response to everything, Dylan, is to just not care. That's literally what I'm getting from your behaviors here. That's a pattern, if true. That's a huge issue because it shows that she has no empathy for anything and means that she can very easily lie and be capable of manipulating a situation. The simple fact that there was an 8-hour delay in the 911 call, and they have now come out and said that the movements and the things happening on Dylan's phone never stopped.
Both before there's a break in activity. There's not really a break in DM's phone. That is pretty well continuous. And there is a break for BF, but it starts again right away.
She didn't sleep. There was no stopping of communications between her and other people. She was editing photos. She was online talking. There were conversations about what was going on. That's all being talked about now openly in court. So now, we not only have the lies about the 911 call coming out, we're hearing the horribly theatrical bullshit acting of these two girls on the phone. Okay, I'm sorry, Bethany, but if you were really on the phone, why were you not doing that whenever you were freaking out previously with Dylan, whenever y'all were talking about what she was seeing and what y'all were both most likely hearing at the same time? This makes no sense. And for them to get mad at us for asking questions when they're the ones giving us all this bullshit information, that's another wild situation. And I know that I get riled up about this case, and I don't even know these people, but this is the most ridiculous scenario that I've ever heard of in my entire life. And the ridiculous around this case itself is what brought us and so many other people here to talk about this case. We were just as invested before there was ever an arrest. So whenever people come over here doing this, and this about Kohberger this, cool, yeah, he's part of this now, but that's not why we ever showed up here to begin with. Not the majority of us, definitely not me. I want answers. There's way too many things going wrong here. There's way too many things in court that are not pointing to where they think that they are pointing. And there's no way that they don't know that it's not pointing there. They can't be that stupid. It's very well orchestrated. It's too well orchestrated to be on accident. They're literally trying to cover up as much as they can. And it sounds like they really did nothing. Like, more information ended up coming out that really just makes it seem as if they've done none of the investigation themselves, that they were handed information in a completely disorganized manner and just left it that way, and then just picked it up and popped it over to the defense without even bothering to fix the problem. So they've been lying to us the whole time. Oh, they didn't know. They didn't see anything. They didn't hear anything. Homegirl had her eyes on Xana before suspect vehicle 1 even was gone. So how is that possible? How are we here? And we're still hiding all of this. For what? For what? If they're so innocent of everything, then why is all of this such a mystery? Because the state knows there's a problem here. There's no way that they don't. 8 hours and you actually had eyes on somebody that was technically in distress and you did nada. But I'm also supposed to believe that as you had your eyes on her, there was nothing on her that gave you suspicion? No red stuff? I don't understand. So I'm not sure what they're supposed to do with this, because if Xana apparently is the one who went and got the DoorDash, see, this is what I'm just assuming here. I don't even know if this is accurate. They haven't mentioned this at all. I wish they would, but they haven't. The DoorDash was ordered from Ethan's account. But that doesn't mean that Xana didn't go and answer the door and actually take the food. But we don't know that. We don't know that either. That's another thing that we don't know, that there's no reason for us not to know. Was it dropped off and a picture taken and then, hey, your food is there? Or was there a knock or somebody waiting and the food was physically handed to someone? Because if that's the truth, shouldn't that be on that camera that picked up the noises 50 feet away from Xana's room about the thud and the whimpering and the barking? Shouldn't that be there? Now, I know on the Linda Lane footage, you can hear the beep beep of what is most likely the DoorDash. But we don't know if the food was placed, if it was taken in. And what about the TikTok situation here? She was on the floor, passed out drunk, according to Dylan, around that same time, but also actively on TikTok at 4:12. Oh, no, wait. No, wait. That's something else that's now changed. It's not 4:12 anymore. The actual self-authenticating records from the state have it at 3:16, a whole hour prior to that. Still before the DoorDash even got there. And it's crazy to me that just, 8 minutes after Dylan is adding a brand new contact in her phone, DoorDash is showing up, but she's also so passed out asleep that she doesn't remember anything. I'm so tired of this. But that's it for my rant. I don't know when this is going to post, but I needed to get all this out because I have been just nonstop thinking about this since the hearing stopped. I done took my kids out to go eat. I've come back, I've sat down, and just knowing that Dylan had her eyes on Xana then and there and saw her on the floor and thought she must have drank too much. She's passed it on the floor. And you do nothing. You don't react. You don't go check on her. And you're not saying that you saw any red stuff on her. I don't understand. None of this makes any sense. Their timeline's not adding up. It would make more sense for 3:16 to be Xana's last TikTok activity and the DoorDash to have been ordered on Ethan's account as a freaking diversion and somebody not actually get the food. But then why would they be using the DoorDash for anything to do with Xana? And there's been all kinds of speculation about who the DoorDash driver could have even been. We actually did originally hear, I believe it was a female. Then it switched to this overweight man who was in trouble all the time for being rude and eating people's food. And there was actually camera footage of this guy from a Jack in the Box that came out and people were talking about that. That was a wild little sidetrack there. But there's been all kinds of stuff. And then it turns out that it's MM. So now people are thinking that it's this one girl, or it could be this one guy who lived nearby and, have the same initials and happen to be brother and sister. But there's no proof of that either. I need a brain break. But that really is it. That's it. Rant over. I think I can relax now. Again, I don't know when this is going to get posted, but by now, this has probably been a topic of conversation for a good 24 to 48 hours, and everyone is really confused about the new information, and this is just my rant about it because I don't know what to think. I really just don't know what to think, and now I want to know what you guys are thinking about the fact that Dylan apparently had her freaking eyes on Xana at the time of the event. I don't think I'm going to be able to just walk past that one. There's just no way. Let me know how you guys are feeling about this down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out, subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already, and please don't forget to make sure that notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.